Hello and welcome to Economic Forum, where we discuss various issues affecting our economy in Zimbabwe. These can be issues to do with tourism, with agriculture, with manufacturing, with education. Any issue that affects the economy, we discuss it here on Economic Forum. My name is John Masugu. Today we are discussing all matters to do with mining, especially mining and the law. Mining is one of the pillars of the National Development Strategy, NDS1, for the period 2021 to 2025. Artisanal small-scale mining is acknowledged by the NDS1 as a historical bedrock of mining and socio-economic development, especially gold mining. Zimbabwe is endowed with many mineral resources, chief among them gold, diamonds, and chrome. Many people have gone into mining, and that has given rise to artisanal miners, whereas in the past the sector was dominated by corporates. But there are rules and regulations, there are laws governing mining. It's actually well regulated. And to discuss some of these laws, to unpack them and understand them in mining, we've invited a lawyer who specializes in mining, who is going to be telling us about what laws affect mining. That is Marknoughler Chipetiwa. Welcome to Economic Forum.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the issues relating to mining in our jurisdiction, in our country. Zimbabwe is indeed endowed with the vast natural resources, minerals. We have gold, we have platinum, we have almost all minerals in the world are found in Zimbabwe. So there is need for a discussion on how do people in Zimbabwe maximize on their natural resources, particularly minerals, within the confines of the law.
Yeah.
Mining is a regulated industry. There are various laws which are in place so that mining is done in a legal environment. But the problem we are having is that mining traditionally was dominated by corporates, as you have rightly stated, John. So in the modern day world now, mining is now being done by small-scale miners. Artisanal miners are now on the rise. We are now seeing also the emergence of illegal mining also being done at a small-scale level. So there is need for people of Zimbabwe to know how mining is, with the legal regime which is applicable to mining.
That is very important, Marknoughler. Maybe we can begin by classifying mining, because some may think that it only ends with the digging. What is it that is classified under mining and also regulated by these laws which we are going to unpack?
Mining refers to the extraction or abstraction of natural resources which are of a valuable nature from the earth's surface or its subsurface. That is what we all know about mining, is the digging part. However, mining does not start with the digging part, or does it end with the digging part. Before the digging part, there are a lot of processes which are required for one to start digging. And after digging, there are also other issues which need to be dealt with. So, for example, before digging, one needs to have a prospecting license. How do you acquire mining rights? First of all, you go to a piece of land, you prospect, are there mineral resources in this area? To do that, you need a prospecting license. To do that, you need to be legally equipped with a document which allows you to go into a certain piece of land and to prospect for minerals. Then, after you found minerals in a particular mining location, you are now going to the mining commissioner or the mining affairs board, whichever the case, to say that I have found particular minerals and I would want to have them registered in my name. So after that, for example, if you go from prospecting, now you get a certificate of registration to show that you are now the owner of a particular mining location, which can be not less than 10 hectares. After acquiring the certificate of registration of a particular mining location, then there is need for you to start mining. And also, during that process, there are also other legal requirements which are required. For example, there is need for the mining commissioner to come and inspect this mining location and give you an inspection certificate.
Let's look at the laws themselves. You've mentioned quite a lot of things. Are all these things governed by one law, or there are many laws that come into it?
The Mines and Minerals Act is the principal legislation dealing with minerals and mining in Zimbabwe. But however, mining cuts across almost all sectors of the economy. It's such that you find pieces of legislation in the Forestry Act, pieces of laws in the Parks and Wildlife Act, which regulate mining. For example, you cannot do mining in a national park. You cannot do mining in a area which has been gazetted as a forest. So there are various laws which affect mining, the mining legal regime. It's not only the Mines and Minerals Act, there are also the Environmental Management Act, which clearly states that to endeavor into projects such as mining, you need an environmental impact assessment before you are getting mining rights. So even labor laws of the country, they apply to mining, because mining is also done by people, and the people need to be regulated in terms of the labor law. So there are various pieces of legislation which deal with mining, but principally the chief instrument is the Mines and Minerals Act.
Marknoughler, you have given a lot of details about what is supposed to be done before someone goes into mining. Where is that information got, and where are these places? Are they only found in the capital or any other parts of Zimbabwe?
The offices are not only strictly in the capital. Zimbabwe is divided into mining districts. Each and every district has a mining commissioner or a provincial mining director. So if anyone is interested, for example, anyone in Beitbridge is interested in acquiring mining rights in Beitbridge, there is a mining commissioner who is in that district. So that person will go to the mining commissioner in that district, apply, be it for a prospecting license, be it for a certificate of registration. So mining is not only centralized in Harare or the provincial capitals. All the country is divided into mining districts, and it is only in these districts where you find the mining commissioner or a provincial mining director.
That's Marknoughler Chipetiwa, who is a mining lawyer. He is telling us about all things to do with mining. Today we are talking about mining and the law. What steps have to be taken within the law in order to have orderly mining in our country. So join us in the second segment of Economic Forum. Welcome to the second segment of Economic Forum, where today we are discussing mining and the law. We've just heard about the steps that have to be taken in order to go into mining. And we know that mining is not only about digging, but there are various aspects that are to do with mining, and all those are regulated by the law in Zimbabwe. And discussing all that is our guest today, who is Marknoughler Chipetiwa. He's a lawyer, but specializing in that area of mining. Now let's look at rights, claims and so forth. Usually there are some disputes about claims, and also in this segment we want to look about some of the conflicts that take place, particularly between farmers and miners and so forth. So what are the rights that you like to highlight with regards to mining and the law?
First of all, mining rights are vested in the president. Section 2 of the Mines and Minerals Act is very clear that the dominion over mining rights is vested in the president. This is in line with the principle of sovereignty. So the president holds mining rights on behalf of the people of Zimbabwe. So it is through the president that we acquire mining rights. So there are different ways of acquisition of mining rights. For example, you can acquire mining rights firstly through a prospecting license, which I talked about. That is, it gives you right to prospect for minerals in a particular area. Then you can also get mining rights through registration of a particular mining location. The same way you register for title deeds at your house. This is the same situation. You register for mining rights at a particular mining location, so that the rights are vested in you, but they belong to the president. You can also get mining rights through what are called tribute agreements. Let's say, John, you have your own mining location, but you're not using it much, and you would want me to come and invest in your mining location and extract minerals from that mining location. You cannot just say, Mark, come and exploit these resources. There is need for a tribute agreement which needs to be signed and approved by the mining commissioner. So at your house, you can just lease out part of your house to anyone. But with mining, you cannot just lease out a mining location to anyone without approval by the mining commissioner. So tributary agreements are most common forms of acquisition of minerals by, for example, you see large corporations, they come to Zimbabwe, they see a person with this mining location, they ask him, can we come and partner? We enter into a tributary agreement. That's how we can also get mining rights. Then there is also a situation that, John, you have your own mining location. You want to sell that mining location. You can have your sale, but that sale, there should be a certificate of registration after transfer. So you have a certificate of registration. For me to get rights, I need to get a certificate of registration after transfer. We move on to also, there are other types of acquisition, for example, special grants. There's area which is, for example, for minerals such as oil. You have seen that in Mzalabani now there is exploration for oil which is being done. Special grants are done through the president. The president gives a particular entity special grant over a particular location, for example, especially relating to oil and natural gases. Then there are also forms of acquisition through mining leases and special mining leases. This is whereby you are given a lease by the state to procure or to prospect for particular mining resources in a special, in an area designated for such special mining leases.
So I did allude to the fact that all these things that you're mentioning, there sometimes are disputes that arise, especially when the claims are within someone's farm. And we are an agricultural country, it is the backbone of our economy. But there have been disputes whereby there's been a lot of mining within the farms. Talk to us about that and how that can be resolved under law.
The miner-farmer dispute is prevalent in this day. In this day, the courts are being bombarded by cases where miners and farmers are taking each other to court. Principally, the farmer will be saying that I am the owner of this land, but the farmer in most cases is mistaken that he owns surface rights only. The miner has underground rights. So there is now conflict between the miner and the farmer. And the jeopardy is worsened by the fact that most of our mining locations are located in farms. So the farmer might not know that when this farm was pegged, there was already a mining location on that farm. So there are disputes. But ultimately, the law is very clear on who has better rights. The law is very clear that mining takes precedence over farming. Section 177 of the Mines and Minerals Act is clear that the miner has better rights than the farmer. This makes sense because, look, mining contributes much more significantly to the GDP of the economy. So we cannot say that a person continues to farm a particular, for maize, where there are mineral resources which are worth $1 billion underground.
How does the law help with good neighborliness? You've just said it's within the law, but here you are, you have your crawl here, and just next to it, someone is digging, for minerals and so forth. But you want to live in harmony and so forth.
So the laws of mining are very clear that you cannot conduct mining activities 400 meters away from a residence or an agricultural farm, etc. So you cannot.
So even in the field, inside the field itself.
Yes, you need to conduct your mining activities outside 400 meters away from such a house or a communal land, etc.
Or a field.
Yes, or a field. You need to conduct your mineral rights 400 meters away. But the dilemma is now when that field falls entirely in the mining location. For example, this field is located within the mining location. The farmer has to give way to the miner. So in the event of a miner-farmer dispute, there is need for conciliation between the parties to determine who has better rights and also how can they peacefully coexist. If that dispute is not ameliorated or solved, then the parties need to go to a mining commissioner who will then determine the dispute.
That's Marknoughler Chipetiwa. He's a lawyer who specializes in mining and the law, and we've discussed various issues that are required under law in order to carry out mining activities. So join us in the third and final segment of Economic Forum. During mining activities, there is a lot of destruction that takes place on the land, and there is need to actually go back and return the situation to normal. And at times it happens, at times it doesn't happen. But what is important, Marknoughler, our guest here on Economic Forum, is to tell us about some of the laws which actually drive us in protecting the environment when you are mining.
Mining is inherently destructive of the environment. There is need for the environment to be protected during and after mining activity. The Environmental Management Act is very clear that before commencement of mining operations, there is need for an environmental impact assessment. This is an impact assessment which is being done to determine if this particular mining project will affect the environment and in what way will it affect the environment, and it will be the environment be rehabilitated after that. So before getting a certificate of registration of mining rights, there is need for an environmental impact assessment to be done. This is key. And also, the Mines and Minerals Act is also clear on certain provisions on how to protect the environment. For example, there are areas in which you cannot do mining activities. For example, parks, forests, and also places of religion. For example, you cannot do mining in Wangi National Park because of the animals there. You cannot do mining in forests which have been gazetted as forests because we need to protect those forests. They are our natural reservoirs for greenhouses. So the law is also clear on how we do certain mining activities. For example, mining activities such as blasting, you need to get a blasting license to that effect. The mining involves various chemicals. You need to have licenses to have to deal with mercury, cyanide, etc. Because those chemicals, they are harmful to the environment, and also if they find themselves in the human body, they can cause serious diseases or even death. So for most corporations, the Ministry of Mines at any time can do spot checks to see if they are complying with the mining laws, in particular, are they conserving the environment. For example, they can spot check on how are you disposing your effluent, because mining involves a lot of water, and most mining companies, they dump their effluent in water bodies. So there is need for treatment of such effluent before it is discharged into water bodies. So the Ministry of Mines is always checking if the mining corporates are complying with their obligations to dispose waste, how they are dealing with chemicals, their licenses, are they up to date, how are they processing their product so that the environment is conserved at the end of the day.
Now, while talking about protecting the environment, I think it is also important to protect the human beings, the human capital that is working around the mines. What does the law say about that?
Mining is generally dangerous. We can see the Wange incident, where about 400 miners perished
in Kamandama.
Yes, this clearly shows that mining is very dangerous. So the Mines and Minerals Act is very clear, for example, on how you conduct particular mining activities. For example, underground mining. There are specific rules and regulations which determine underground mining. The Ministry of Mines is thorough on that issue. The Ministry of Mines clearly inspects the shafts which you have underground, how safe are they, the lighting in those shafts, and also who enters such shafts, and how are your shafts stable? Because, for example, we are having situations where people are going into old shafts and they find themselves being trapped. They are collapsing. So there is need for shafts to be updated and also to be strengthened always, so that the humans who are working are protected. And also the Mines and Minerals Act is regulations are clear on the safety requirements. For example, people who are going underground, they need to be of a particular, if you have other health issues, you cannot go underground. If you are having, for example, eyesight issues, you are not supposed to go underground. And also there is need for safety equipment when you are underground. For example, ventilators, masks, protective helmets, etc., so that the miners are protected.
Marknoughler, the president is very clear. He has made statements to the effect that those who want to go into mining can be assisted by those who are already experienced, because our target that we want to achieve from mining is $12 billion. But it will be very difficult to achieve when people are not following the proper procedures. What is it that you can advise those who don't have the experience but want to go into mining?
Mining is dangerous, as we have already discussed, and we are finding a lot of people being trapped in underground shafts which have been abandoned. So there is need for those who are interested in mining to follow the procedures which are laid out in terms of the law. It's very easy for one to acquire mining rights. It happens in most cases that someone might not have resources and the equipment to harness the minerals from the ground. So such people who have mining locations should team up with those who have enough capital and they partner to produce for the economy. So we are finding a situation where there are small-scale artisanal miners in the modern day. They do not have enough infrastructure to extract the mineral resources. And the way they are doing those mining activities, they are not sustainable and they do not bring out dividend. So there is need for capitalization of mining, especially from the small-scale perspective, so that they can compete with corporations.
The Mining and Minerals Act that is currently in operation is quite old. I think it was promulgated around 1965, and there have been moves towards coming up with a bill. Would you just highlight some of the changes or the amendments that are coming within the bill for discussion by the legislature?
Thank you very much. The bill it's now long overdue. We need the bill now or never, because in 1965, when this law was promulgated, it was not anticipated that a black man would own a mining location. So the mining legal regime needs to change and to appreciate the fact that now black people are having mining locations and they are doing that as artisanal miners. They are operating at small scale. Traditionally, mining is for big corporations who have vast tracts of lands, vast equipment, but nowadays a person can have one claim, 10 hectares. So the law needs to be sensitive to the plight of such small-scale artisanal miners and also need to regulate them. These small-scale miners should not go unregulated. So the law needs to regulate. The Mines and Minerals Bill is clear on artisanal miners. The Mines and Minerals is also clear on protecting the environment. It has a lot of provisions to deal with the protection of the environment. You can see that in 1965, the issue of climate change was not a reality, but now climate change is a reality, and the Mines and Minerals Amendment Bill has to take into account how does mining affect the environment and how is it contributing to global warming.
Well, 1965 was the year of the unilateral declaration of independence, where you also got statements like not in 1,000 years, but there were changes through our liberation struggle, and the situation has changed. That's Marknoughler, Chipetiwa, who has been talking to us about mining and the law. We've discussed quite a number of things, and what remains is for me to thank him for coming to Economic Forum. What you can do as our viewers, you can get in touch with us on the numbers that are showing on your screen if there are any questions that you want to ask about various issues that we discuss here, as well as the interesting topic about mining, which we're discussing today, because most of us are now going into mining. If you'd like to engage with us on our social media platforms, you can also do so on the platforms that are showing on your screen. If you miss some of the episodes of Economic Forum, you can actually view them on our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. So on behalf of our guest, Marknoughler, Chipetiwa, and the production team, this is John Masugu wishing you happy viewing.